Games. I like games. Video games usually. Not to shit on board games or anything, but the fun of those really depends on who you play it with, and my dad is a fucking sheet. Every time we play Monopoly, he's just like, he applies this really stupid rule where it's like, oh, if the person I owe money doesn't notice I land on their spot, I don't owe them any money. And that's not how the fucking game works. Anyways, I like video games, but I have a bad habit of just rotating through like 5 or 6 at any given time. And for 2025, I want to change that by actually playing through the games in my library. And to hold myself accountable, I'm going to be doing this little video series at the end of every month where I just review all the games I decide to play. I should probably mention now, there's going to be spoilers for all of the games I'm going to be talking about, so. Number 1, A Hat in Time. A Hat in Time is a 3D platformer where you play as a little girl who stitches hats together for different abilities, and the goal of the game is to collect timepieces, which are the fuel source for your spaceship. Now, the game design itself is very similar to Mario Galaxy, but with the charm of any LEGO game. The reason I compare it to Super Mario Galaxy is because it does something that I love in it, which is for each world you're put in the same level but put into a different situation, and I think that's a really cool and interesting way to like flesh out each world. And each world itself feels genuinely original and charming, and I like it a lot. The character design as well is very adorable, or silly, in the best way possible. And the one thing I love most about any game, let alone a platformer, is just movement mechanics. You can dive forward, you can get a grappling hook, and you can get a hat that lets you sprint, and you can actually collect a badge that changes it into a scooter-like game, and it's really, really fun. And the badges themselves are really cool. They can like go from minor improvements to already existing abilities to completely redesigning abilities, and even bad ones if you want to make the game a little bit more difficult for yourself. And I really appreciate creative difficulty improvements. Shout out Resident Evil. You can actually buy a special badge from the boss of the first world that lets you find collectibles easier. Yeah, you turn the final boss into goo too. By the way, this game is like lovingly gruesome. I don't know how else to put it. In one of the worlds, you can actually choose who wins an in-game competition between DJ Grooves and the conductor, and the missions genuinely feel like clever and thought out well, and it's probably my favorite section of the game. The boss fights in this game are bloody incredible. I'm really gonna have to go back later and fight that outhouse again. That was really fun. In fact, actually, it's really fun. One of the bosses are like invincible because he says he can't turn blue, which is like the sign to turn vulnerable and whatnot.
You're probably waiting for me to turn blue, aren't? Sorry, kiddo. Blue doesn't suit me. And I guess that makes me invincible, huh?
But then you can turn him blue with his own attack, and
Did you just color me blue with my own attack? This can't count, right? Surely this doesn't count.
I don't know, that's funny. Also, I like that they're actually difficult. I struggled with a couple of these, and it feels like a challenge when I fight them, and you know what? It's fucking fun. It's really fun to me, and you know what, at the end of the game, you win at the end of the game, not through the power of like friendship or anything, but through like the mutual hatred of the big bad. Like all the people that you fought like up till this point just unanimously agree, this guy sucks. They hate her so much that they willingly explode themselves to give the Hat Girl infinite health to continue the boss fight, and that's just funny. After you beat the final boss, a cutscene plays where a bunch of your characters you met along the way beg you to stay because they like you now. And they're like hanging off like the actual window of the spaceship too, and it's really sweet. And through flattered tears, the Hat Kid actually has to swat them off of the spaceship with a broom. And God, I love this game so much. I'm so disappointed I didn't play it any sooner. Ultimately, I'm glad I played this game. I will probably play again in the future, and I recommend you play it. Game number 2, Chairs. Genuine epilepsy warning for this section of the video. This game is flashy as hell. If YouTube is being nice today, there should be chapters in this video, just skip to the next one. What if Sonic the Hedgehog was a chair and he gave you epilepsy? Also, he controls more like a car. Okay, the gameplay loop is this. You have a jump, a charge, propel, and the ability to force yourself to the ground. You have to collect these triangle things that let you open an exit portal, and these triangle things also increase your momentum and count towards a score that give you a rank at the end of the level. Once you collect enough triangles, the exit portal will open and enemies will spawn. Once you get to the portal, the dimension you're in gets destroyed. This game is so fucking fun. Almost every asset feels like a reference too. I don't recognize all of them, but like the title cards for each level feels like they're from something. Like I'm gonna hold like comparisons up to the side of the screen in case I can find them later. Appliance Avenue, Dusty Dunes, Fungler Forest, Mad Mountain, Volcanic Void, and Zone Zero. And the references don't stop there, because the multiplier on the top right counts up according to the triangles you collect, and with most milestones having their own like dedicated icon that appears with a little voice line. Yeah, they're just a bunch of references. 5 triangles, windows. 10 triangles, I think that's the Discover card. 15, Taco Bell, but with a chair. I don't recognize what 22 is. 30, Seinfeld. 40 and 50 are just what? And respectively. On top of that, the sound effects are just very audibly recognizable. Not to mention all the stuff on the maps themselves. It is random as fuck, and even the creator themselves admits they just ran out of models at some point. I don't really like collectathons. I tried playing like ukulele. I didn't like it. It was just boring. The only positive thing I could say about him is that my English teacher did like him, and he actually gave me a higher score when I was able to reference like Banjo-Kazooie in a thing I wrote in class. But I feel like this game kind of makes it work. Also, at the time of writing this, I actually found out there were more collectibles in the game that actually let you have some skins. They're pretty much just like question marks just found on the map randomly. I haven't found any of them yet at the time of filming, but there might be footage in the actual video of me finding one. The game itself is actually pretty short, only about 6 levels, with one being a tutorial level and the last one being like a race against the clock, flying through all the previously visited dimensions, ending inside the mouth of something, and then a blue screen, because nothing exists anymore. You destroyed it. I will be playing this game forever. This game is $7.50 Australian cents. I think that is more than a fair price for this kind of game. I don't care if you have to like sell a piece of your body, go play this fucking game. Okay, so those last 2 sections, I hope you enjoy them, because the rest of this is all negativity. Detroit Become Human. I'm gonna start off with the stuff that I did like. I think the opening is genuinely perfect in my mind. I can't see him doing anything better. It introduces the concept, the world, Connor, and the investigative gameplay in a pretty well communicated way, at least for his sections of the game. The actual detective sections themselves. And Connor's detective sections are actually pretty cool puzzles to solve, and I wish there were more of them, genuinely. I do think the ability to animate the real life situation in his head from just looking at that chair really hard is funny. Just the fact that he needs to analyze a stool for some reason, I just think it's funny, and I like it. The scrapyard scene with Marcus is so cool. It makes you immersed in the scene by making the audio and visual shit like improve with every replacement part you find, and it's sick as fuck. Hank is genuinely an interesting character, and whether it's nurturing him or nurturing my palm against his fucking face, it's always entertaining, and I love him. So there's this scene where there's a bunch of car troubles, and I actually kind of appreciate the fact that the car troubles are just left out completely to imagination. These are probably electric cars, but the rider just didn't know the equivalent of like running out of coolant or something. I mean, neither do I, but still, it's funny. Last thing I liked about this, I'm a huge advocate for like making robots that look like robots. Like Boston Dynamics, like S-tier robot design. Tesla robots visually are alright. They're probably like B-tier or something. Aria from CES 2025, F-tier. I don't want a robot that looks like a human. I don't. Why does a robot need a human face? Why does it need a mouth? I know the answer to that. Humans are really good at personifying things and pack bonding. Just give a robot cat ears, make it meow, and make it purr when the human pets it, and everyone will love it. Shout out Kerfus. I know why robots would take the shape of humans, for better integration and whatnot into like human-based workforce, like use human tools, use human appliances and whatnot. I get that, and I don't think they need skin for that. I don't think they need to like mimic humans exactly to do that, but I think for the most part in this game, the actual aesthetic they chose for them, I appreciate it. I think they did a fine enough job in implementing that. I honestly think it's pretty alright. I'd probably put it probably with Tesla at B tier. I'm adding this in post. This one cop who cannot for the life of him say fuck properly. Now, here's the stuff I didn't like. You can probably realize with the little timestamps that there's a lot. In a story about robot liberation, it makes sense to make references to real world events. But I think it's stupid that the entire public transport system of Detroit was redesigned to make androids stand at the back of the bus. On top of that, I think it's just plainly unrealistic. I mean, let's say we got androids tomorrow and some guy said, let's make him sit at the back of the bus. That's fucking stupid. I don't like Carl. I get that he's meant to be like the old wise mentor type, but it just like doesn't seem nice. I don't know, he genuinely thinks people are stupid for not accepting androids, even though like androids are replacing most of the job market and no one can afford to live now. I don't know, I feel like people should have empathy for other people in modern times, am I right? This one push by Leo,
It's a fucking machine!
Leo, that's enough!
is fucking pathetic. And the fact that the music swells with it, I'm supposed to take this shit seriously? Just have him punch Marcus. I know every animation in this game is mocap, so you can't actually have an actor punch another actor, but just do that thing where you like turn the face just as the punching. Also, I can understand the concept behind having 3 different perspectives of this kind of story, where you're playing as like one robot who's like a cop trying to capture the other androids. He's like enforcing the status quo, and like another robot that's trying to like start the robot revolution and break the status quo, and another one that's just trying to survive in the crossfire. I think that's a very interesting way to explore the concept, and I appreciate the attempt. But I genuinely feel like Kara's story could have been left out completely and the game would have been better off for it. And that's not just because of the reveal that has in it, and we will talk about that later. In my mind, any scene in a story should do 2 things: progress the story and entertain. In this game, they do that in a couple ways. World building, an action driven scene, you know, like chase scene, fight scene, whatever. A character dynamic scene, usually making like the player character reinforce a relationship between another character. Or chores. I don't play games for chores. It is very difficult to make a dishwashing simulator fun, especially with QuickTime events. Alice does not feel like a character. She feels like a narrative device used to reinforce a moral standard, which is weird because any like normal reaction you'd have towards her just boosts her relationship to you. I don't know, it became obvious very quickly that you're meant to like her and she's meant to like you. The entire relationship between them feels really forced, and I don't know, I don't like it. In Jericho, the first time you visit, you can talk to multiple different characters, and one of them was really noteworthy to me, and it was an android that was almost assured to die. Not the one that like dies in our arms, the other one. The one that shows like genuine fear of dying.
I don't want to shut down. No, I don't want to shut down.
And it immediately made me empathize with them more than any other character in this game. I don't want to say the actors did a bad job, but like this guy did like a way better job than most other people in this game. Like, how the fuck do you do that? Oh, actually, this kind of game punishes you for having just basic problem-solving skills. We play as a cop and 2 different deviants. Some guy says to one of the deviants, you need to remove your tracker because otherwise you'll be caught soon. Which makes no sense because we haven't heard about any trackers from anyone at all. So either A, they don't exist and this guy's lying, or B, they do exist, they're just useless, so this guy's lying and we shouldn't trust him. And we just don't get the ability to leave immediately because the narrative feels forced at this point. Afterwards, when you're sneaking through the house and whatnot, you can actually see the bad guy's weapon and you just can't take it because it just doesn't have ammo, which is fucking stupid. Just throw it out the window or something. As long as he doesn't have it, it's better. It's just fucking stupid. Public opinion only changes when you watch the news, which I feel like I could fit in a lesson about like overthinking people's opinion of you doesn't mean they hate you, but I'm not clever enough for it and I'm just like drained from this section of the game. You'll probably notice very quickly that magazines in the game largely just show, oh, androids taking over another subsection of jobs, or oh, outside political stuff that doesn't really matter to the story, but they really want to let you know that the American president is a woman and she's controversial. Also, this part's funny actually. It turns out she got famous from being a vlogger. So yeah, David Dobrik for 2028. Fucking fingers crossed, I guess. Now, later in the game, the magazines do show like some like references to some decisions you made and the public opinion, but god, they did not put any like effort into making them interesting. I feel like this game has a habit of revealing features of androids that are revealed way too late for them to be cool or interesting, and also not really exploring any of it enough. Like, androids can communicate telepathically, apparently.
There are exits on the second and third floor. Find them and jump in the river.
Why don't they do that with each other just casually? And why haven't we heard about that feature beforehand? Oh, it was in a fucking magazine? Oh, I guess I'm stupid then. Also, why doesn't Connor just probe the memory of every android he meets just in case they're deviant? Why does he have to threaten them first? In this section of the game, suddenly Alice really cares about the perception of humans when it comes to androids.
Why do humans hate us? We didn't do anything wrong.
And she just keeps referring to androids as us and we. Again, I'll talk about that later. This isn't really a bad thing, it's more just noteworthy. Adam sounds like an anime boy.
It's too dangerous. I won't back down this time.
We are not machines. We are alive. They are not machines. They are alive. Both can be true. It would be interesting to explore that concept. They don't. It feels really fucking lazy at this point. I'm pissed off. At the time of writing, I just watched Adam yell at his mom, and I'm just gonna guess that he doesn't have a character arc. He will just like completely change his outlook later. Marcus feels so flat. He does not have any real character in his voice, which is a shame because I've seen the actor that plays him and he can actually do stuff. I feel like he was just given nothing to do, and it's so fucking annoying. Oh, speaking of annoying, North is annoying. And like Alice, you were just forced to be friends with her because all the actions you have to do in the story, she just likes. Like being slightly violent to humans. Like, what the f? Have you ever seen a piece of fictional technology that seems stupid? Like a graffiti projector? Like, listen, I'm not gonna pretend like I'm a professional writer or anything, but like, if you want to seem alive, just don't graffiti text and comfort her. Also, I feel like the use of "I think therefore I am" is badly used because it's quoted from a famous evil fictional AI that killed the entire human race but made 5 immortal just to torture them forever. The ex-CEO of Cyberlife feels stupid, along with the writer.
An obedient machine or a living being.
I don't think this game can really like fathom an android being both. In the next scene, Marcus talks about the followers.
They all obey me. They follow me without question.
They're just another type of obedient.
And that much power feels good. And scary at the same time.
God, the writer just... I don't know. It's just fucking boring. At this section... Okay, this is the plot twist I was talking about. The point of a twist is to recontextualize the previous context in a clever way. Kara's twist is that Alice is a robot. And what they're trying to say in the story is just like, oh, you can still care for her even if she's a robot, which is stupid. Kara's twist recontextualizes it to make Todd, the cunt, into a depressive victim, buying 2 androids to replace the family that left him. Don't get me wrong, I don't like Todd. You shouldn't like him either, but I can't pretend I don't feel a little bad for him once I know about the twist. Also, even if the twist was good, we didn't need Kara secretly knowing Alice was an android and just pretending that she was human. Also, we went through multiple sections of the game where the objective was to make Alice comfortable, which she didn't even need because she can just turn off those sorts of feelings like her sense of cold, as we can do later, and which I did because there's no downside to it.
Alice loves you, Kara. She loves you more than anything in the world.
I wish she'd fucking show it. I wish she had any sort of character. She has no emotions, and that's not because she's a robot, that's because the writer doesn't know how to write a fucking child. Or maybe he does, I don't know, there's not really anything to critique. I think the reason I like Connor the most is because he actually feels like a robot, which is what I was expecting when I started playing the game. That and the actual stakes feel real. My dad doesn't like superhero movies. I asked him why, because I do like them, and what he said has changed my view of most media forever. It's because you know they'll win. And listen, I still like superhero movies for like other aspects, like the fantastical aspects of it. But that point still exists outside of it. There is no threat in this game if you're not playing Connor. He's the only one that can outright die, and yet he can be replaced, but he can still die. There's stakes. The only thing you can do with the other characters is make the playthrough easier, which I don't think is good enough. I think that's really lazy on the writer's part. I think that's stupid even. This entire game exists because some guy thought the argument of robots being people was already settled and wrote something that just indulges in one side of that argument, completely forgetting that the argument is what's entertaining. That and some actual fucking characters, and at the time of writing, I just feel like saying it, the character writing is shit. The only one I care about is Connor and Hank, and I had learned that the actors for them had to beg the writer to keep most of the stuff they did in. At the time of writing, I'm in the final scene between two Connors and Hank, and honestly, it's stupid. It's doing that clone thing where it's like, oh, ask us a question each and whichever one answers correctly wins or whatever. Which doesn't work when you're talking about robots because they can just like upload memories. It's stupid. The easiest solution to this is to make both Connors try to convert the other android. But of course they don't do it because that's too easy and the writer doesn't understand how to write stakes that make sense. Also, the final question from Hank in this scene is,
My son, what's his name?
and the way they convey it makes it sound like it's an important part of his character, and honestly, maybe it is. I just found out that his son died a couple hours ago, and I just didn't want to pry any further because I thought Hank wouldn't like it. But turns out Hank's son died because no human surgeon was available to operate on him, leaving only an android to respond, and Hank's son Cole to die, and that's why he hates androids. But I think because we, the player, Connor, and Android, was nice to him and showed some humanity, his opinion changed to hating red ice, the in-game drug, because that's what the human doctor was doing, apparently. At the time of writing, I'm at the border now, and I was right about Adam.
I couldn't understand why my mother wanted to help you guys. Seeing what Marcus is doing made me realize she was right.
We didn't see him do or experience anything beyond the one cop scene, but and we just had to believe that because he saw Marcus on TV, that he's now part of the cause, which I'll be honest, this part probably changes depending on your in-game decisions, but in my case, I was right, and the writers can slurp my fat up. Honestly, I could forgive most of this if they just had a skip button for cutscenes, or just some of the character sections, because it's just a fucking slog to get through. In my mind, this game should have just been dumbed way the hell down to just Hank and Connor trying to stop the robot revolution and being friends, because that's the only part of this game that was genuinely interesting, and ultimately I'm glad I played the game to actually experience it, but I'm never touching it again. I'm so surprised that this game sits at overwhelmingly positive on Steam. It's not good. So to sum up, play these two games, don't bother with this one. If you're interested in the story, just watch the cutscenes on YouTube. And those are the games I played for January 2025. If you have any games you'd recommend me to play, please do in the comments, and I hope you have a lovely day.